Exactly. I mean, and don't get me wrong, we meet with every one of our clients and our athletes one-on-one first, do an evaluation, get a feel for their health history, any kind of injuries that we need to work with, obviously scheduling-wise. And, I think we're a little bit different from most of the facilities that are kind of doing it with our business model similar to us, is that we program for everybody individually. So Tony and Brian and I, we spend a lot of time writing programs. The difference is, between us and another facility that might do this, is that we don't just write one workout up on the board that everyone's going to follow. Instead, you walk in here and you see, at times, 15 people, each with their own clipboard, each with an individualized program, and, they're accountable, and really we're just here to give cues and give coaching, just subtle modifications to exercise technique. And, hey, if someone, basically slipped on the ice and fell and cracked their ankle the day before, we need to know how to, basically make modifications in that program on the fly.
All right, that's real good to hear. Now, one thing about Cressey Performance is, obviously you branded it after yourself, which is what we hear all the big marketing people talk about nowadays in every field. Now, what's involved in that? What kind of responsibility does that put on you, being...
Having my name on the facility?
Yeah, having your name on the door.
Well, let's put it this way. One of our kids a few weeks ago forgot his backpack at our facility after training after school. It just so happened to be during midterms. I had a call from his father at 11:45 at night saying that he needed, XYZ paper from his backpack in order to study for his exam the next day. So, you're the one that gets called when something goes wrong. So, there's a lot of glamour and all of that, meaning that, when something goes well for Cressey Performance, Eric Cressey is the first one to get called. But it also is responsibility in the sense that, a lot of kids still haven't grasped the concept of calling the office phone to schedule their sessions. Instead, I get text messages and calls. So, and generally speaking, when people, start here, they always want to work with me. And one of the things that's really important is that as we get, athletes and regular clients involved, I need to make a special point of integrating them with our other coaches. Basically guys who I've trained and groomed for this day to be an extension of me. So the hard part is, you put your name on a facility, inherently they are going to come to you first. There are perks and drawbacks to it. So, for me, it was a good move simply because personally I had a lot of brand equity, in this area, so that when I made the move, there was a little bit more of an association with my last name and good baseball training. So if I had just given a random name, there might not have been that connection. It might not have been as easy to do. So it worked out very well.
Okay.
But right. There's definitely some drawbacks that I have to deal with.
All right. That sounds real good. Now,
I wouldn't do it differently. Put it that way.
Yeah. No, it looks like in your case, it turned out to be the right move. Not just from a marketing perspective, but also just for the success of the business.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I noticed when I was looking up your background is that you have a strong athletic background yourself, and you've built that into the training that you give. I think that's one of the great things about personal training, how we can take our own workout habits and interests and turn them into our career. It kind of doesn't even really qualify as work anymore, when you do it like that. Now, can you explain how your own exercise history, how that plays into what you do over at Cressey?
Well, I think, obviously it's a frame of reference. If when you have a perspective to deal with athletes to basically, be on their level in terms of, competitive mindset and all that, it makes a difference. One of the things I kind of take pride in is that I'm able to, kind of get right in there and run, jump, lift, do whatever I need to do alongside our athletes.
You know what? That's good now while you're 26. Try that in a few years, man.
Exactly. I know. I'm rapidly deteriorating, and I'm actually I'm starting to get away from powerlifting just a little bit more and doing a little bit more sprint work and all that. So it's a little bit easier on the joints, but it'll be interesting to see where it takes me in a few years. But for now, I'm out on the track with 8 or 9 guys running with them and hold my own. So I'm still a 650 deadlifter and a 32-inch vertical jump, so I can certainly hold my own. But it's going to be interesting in a few years to see how that deterioration of my body affects my business model. But, no, we're very enthusiastic about what it is we do. All of our athletes, from our business guy, all of our employees, from our business guy to the trainers ourselves, we're active lifters ourselves. So I think that's really, really important in terms of not just modeling appropriate behavior, but in terms of improving longevity and training. You got to take care of your body.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's way too many trainers that think that they can preach it but not practice it to a high degree themselves, and that's a big mistake. Now, one thing that you mentioned in the beginning when we first started talking is some of the passive streams of income you have, the publications, the consulting. And yeah, and you're known for that. You're pretty big in this whole what they call the information marketing and information giving business. Now I think when a lot of people see a young guy like you making a passive income, they get a little diluted into thinking that they can do the same thing like real quickly. What's your take on that? What kind of background do you need before you can start charging for free information?
Oh, go ahead. No, I mean, the thing that for me was really valuable is before I ever did this, I went out and I spoke, giving presentations and stuff like that. I wouldn't be comfortable putting information out there if I didn't feel like the information I was presenting at seminars was well received. But I think that, yeah, I mean, you basically kind of, hit the tip of the iceberg when you said that, there's a little bit of a problem with people who jump into that information product realm a little bit too soon. I think one of the bigger things that a lot of people are doing now is sometimes they're packaging other people's information as a product they create as a compilation and selling that. For some people that's a good, I guess, intro into the business aspect of it, in terms of just getting their name out there and gradually progressing that to a point where, it's their expertise rather than somebody else's that they're selling. So you see that with like a product from Nate Green or from Jimmy Smith, and I have mixed feelings about that, but needless to say, that's the nature of the beast. My feeling is, if you're not good at what you do, don't put out products. And we know that historically, less than 0.5% of personal trainers are financially independent. I don't think that's because there isn't enough of a market to support the personal trainers in this country. I mean, the weight loss industry was like $100 billion industry in 2006, and that's independent of fat, basically reduction surgeries and liposuctions and things like that. I think that, the problem is that trainers really aren't good enough to effectively service a very, very large market. So in that capacity, no, I don't think that, a lot of people are qualified to be putting information out there, and when they do, it becomes a little bit scary. I remember going to speak at a seminar down in Atlanta, I think it was last year, and, just by a show of hands, I asked how many people had heard of Stuart McGill. The world's premier spine biomechanist. And, out of about 130 people in the audience, I think 4 raised their hands. The 4 people who raised their hands were myself and the 3 other presenters that day. When you haven't read the stuff from the guy who's basically at the forefront of research for a condition that's going to affect, 80% of your clients at some point during their life, I would say that, maybe you need to bury your nose in a book before you start to try to put out more information or, try to promote yourself as an expert. So in no way am I saying that I'm the end-all be-all or the brightest guy in the world. But no, I definitely think it's an issue that does need to be addressed, and I'm not sure that I have an answer. So I've never been one to criticize without offering a solution, but I guess that's what I'm doing in this situation.
All right, yeah, no, that's a really good point, and I think coming from you, that carries a lot of weight. Yes, Eric, I know you're real busy over there and you got to run, so just thanks for coming on with me today. And
no problem.
Yeah, and you really you dropped a few real gems here. Some things that some real valuable information from someone that's at the top, the cutting edge of this business. Yeah, so thanks again, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.